the D. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. Hope everyone's doing fine with the time change. I know I'm going to enjoy the longer days, more sunlight, yard work to do, a little spring cleanup, in the backyard, all that stuff. While the Eagles, they got some difficult decisions to make. One in particular. And it appears they've already made the decision of what they want to do. It's just a matter of whether or not they can actually find a dance partner in potentially trading tight end Dallas Goedert. I have been a lot higher on Dallas Goedert than I think most people. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the game. The problem is health, as most of you well know. The problem is not talent. The problem is certainly not blocking. The problem is availability, as everyone always says, is the best ability. So the Eagles, also another thing that's also another great ability is not getting paid a lot of money. And he's got an $11 million cap hit going into this season. And as we have reiterated many, many times over, Howie Roseman highlighting at the combine, you got to take away from one spot to make sure you can keep another. Now, you might think that has to do with a contract extension to Saquon Barkley. Not so much. You free up money this year by giving him that deal. You might think that has something to do with Zach Bond. Yeah, that's more on point, certainly. But this comes down to, with Dallas Goedert, would you be willing to trade Dallas Goedert for Milton Williams? Or at least help keep Milton Williams? Would you be able to, or would you be willing to trade Mekhi Becton for Dallas Goedert and vice versa? That's what it's going to come down to help the Eagles make those decisions. And I'm sure they want to keep Milton Williams. I'm sure that they absolutely want to keep Mekhi Becton on that offensive line, but they got to save money from somewhere. And how they'd save money is being able to trade Dallas Goedert. We'll get into the report from Josina Anderson that came out on Friday, and we'll break that down. We'll also talk about other directions the Eagles could go. If not Dallas Goedert, then who would be the person to step up other than the obvious Grant Calcaterra? And one thing I've always said about Dallas Goedert, it's not just about the pass game. It's about the run game with Dallas Goedert. Can you afford to miss him in the run game? And I always, because it's such a fascinating story to me, I've never heard a player talk about it in like this. But years ago, Jason Kelsey talking about Dallas Goedert missing the game against the Atlanta Falcons because Dallas Goedert wasn't there. They had to throw away all these run plays because that's how good Dallas Goedert is at being able to help in the run game. So I looked at the numbers. Now, as you would assume, the run game did not miss a beat throughout this entire season, and it is absolutely bananas, the numbers that they were able to put up even without Dallas Goedert in that lineup. So I'm saying that just in the idea that they actually do find a trade partner, that the Eagles run game, I still think with Saquon Barkley in this offensive line is going to be still pretty good. Still pretty good. So I think the Eagles feel like this is a position where they have a little, for lack of a better term, a little bit of redundancy, where they feel like they'll be just fine if they move on from Dallas. The odd thing, though, and actually Jimmy Kemsky, I read his story on Philly Voice, pointed this out to me. The leading receiver in the playoffs was Dallas Goedert. Not A.J. Brown, not Devontae Smith. It was Dallas Goedert. Not too bad. If it is the end for Dallas Goedert, there's one play in particular that's going to stick out in my mind, and I'll tell you guys about that in a second. Are we done with the Darius Slay stuff? We're done with that, right? I just want to make sure. Because it really seems like people were trying to dredge that up over the weekend when all these other NFL deals were going down. And if you haven't seen it, Adam Schefter did a great job of summing this one up. There's the laundry list of deals that came to fruition yesterday. How about that? There's one thing that I actually looked at on here now. Myles Garrett, Eagles missed the boat there. Turns out the Cleveland Browns were able to find money and pay him a boatload of it to the tune of the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That is a nice chunk of change. 4 years, $160 million. Good Lord. But there's one part of this deal, or one part of this list. I laughed at it before it came out, before Shefty put the list together. And that was the LA Rams going out there to sign Devontae Adams on a 2-year, how about that, $46 million deal for the 32-year-old wide receiver. Obviously positioning themselves to have another receiver opposite Puka Nacua when they eventually do move on from Cooper Kupp. But the Rams right now, they're a team that over the last week or two have gotten a lot better than what people remember. Almost beat the Eagles in the playoffs. Okay, I feel like when you win in a blowout in the Super Bowl, you can't be, carrying that banner. You can't be carrying that torch. You can't die on that hill. But it has put the Rams more in my focus when it comes to a team that is a legit team in the NFC that could be competing with the Eagles for NFC championships, NFC playoff games, competing on trips to the Super Bowl in general. So for me, I saw them sign Devontae Adams, and we'll see what he has left in the tank after a down year with the Jets. But then again, everything was a down year with the Jets. And we'll see how the Rams can come up here and try to compete with the Eagles. I still think they're a far cry from competing with the Eagles. The thing that makes me more concerned about the Rams than anything is that their defense is only going to get better and better, and they hit on 3 rookie draft picks in the past draft that will certainly be giving every NFC team and every team in the NFL that they go up against fits as the careers go on for those young gentlemen. But when it comes to the offense of the Rams, they absolutely get a boost in Devontae Adams going there. So very curious to see how all that plays out. But the Rams are certainly a team. I think somebody asked me on Friday, teams that you might be concerned with in the NFC. The Rams are certainly a team to keep your eye on. Sean McVay, still very good head coach, still a very good play caller. Matt Stafford has proven that he can obviously still sling it and flirted with the Giants. And then went back to the Rams, be like, all right, what can we do here? And the Rams made sure they kept him, and then they bet sure they kept him, and then they made sure they got him another target as well. So a huge day we'll talk about in the NFL yesterday. Unfortunate news in the world of hockey and in the world of basketball. 76ers won a basketball game yesterday against Utah Jazz. And although I like seeing young guys produce and step up, I forgot to put the crawl there in the bottom there. As I do like to see the young guys step up and play well and all that stuff, but not at the expense of being popped out of the worst 6 in the NBA. 126 points with no Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and of course Joel Embiid because Wheatley's not playing. This is impressive. That's an impressive win. Something I don't want them to do right now. I'd rather Adem Bona get you 14 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, all career highs in a losing effort. As I termed it last week, the perfect loss, where you battle, you fight, and then you lose. Show me something. Show me some maturation from some of these young guys. I saw that in this game, except they won. Damn it. Lonnie Walker, great game. Quentin Grimes, great game. Andre Drummond and Gershon Yabusele played about 22 minutes combined, I believe it was. Yeah. So Adem Bona needed to get them minutes, and he got them minutes. Adem got them minutes. 32. Love to see that from him last night, except for the win. Flyers, Scott Lawton. Get back another first-round pick, though. I really like Scott Lawton, but Flyers did what they were supposed to do. Sell mode. And it hasn't been some good hockey for the Orange and Black since, really, unfortunately. Bad stretch for the Flyers, obviously. But when I look at this, what they did during the trade deadline, just all about building, which is exactly what the Flyers need to be doing right now. I don't know if you guys need consoling in the NFL when it comes to the Myles Garrett deal. I never thought it was happening. I think the biggest thing I'd say on the show was that the Eagles were going to kicked the tires on Myles Garrett. I really hope that a lot of people don't need the consoling there. But the big story from the weekend is the story that came out from Josina Anderson, who put out this tweet. There are league sources who believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are holding out hope for at least a 4th-round pick for Dallas Goedert in a potential trade, even if said pick was from a later years for 2026 or 2027. However, a lower pick and more salary and a salary adjustment is needed for some teams to consider and continue conversations. Either way, Goddard Super Bowl champion, one of the nicer people you'll speak to in the league. Oh, that's a nice thing to say. And he is. I can attest to that. And also in the locker room, great dude. I agree with everything. Great sense of humor when he came to Philadelphia after they won a Super Bowl, just about his first name being Dallas. He allowed people to have fun with that. But the bottom line is, I don't want to lose Dallas Goedert because of the talent. However, football, as we all know, is a pretty rough sport. And Dallas Goedert, when he's out there on the football field, has had a rough go of it. Looking over the last couple of seasons here, the last 5 seasons, he's missed 10 games, excuse me, he's played 10 games, played in 14 games, 12 games, 15 games, 11 games. This past year, he played in 10. That's not being available. There is a good rapport and a good chemistry with Grant Calcaterra. And Jalen Hurts has attested to Grant Calcaterra's work ethic, both in the pass and the run game, and has talked about the familiarity with that target. If Dallas Goedert isn't banged up as much as he has been, if Dallas Goedert isn't going into the final year of his contract, and if the Eagles didn't have other players that they wanted to make sure that they were bringing back, we're not talking about this with Dallas Goedert. He is in no way, shape, or form a player that the Eagles want to push out the door. However, he is the closest thing to expendable at that position and of the players of need. The players that are in need of a new deal. So the Eagles, having already met with a couple of tight ends, Gunnar Helm being one of them out of Texas, they've met with him and a couple others that they feel could come in here and replace Dallas Goedert. The interesting thing here is that I don't look at Grant Calcaterra as a guy to take over and really be a great receiving threat for the Eagles. He's got potential, and maybe he'll prove me wrong in that regard, but Dallas Goedert is pretty damn good. But if Grant Calcaterra can go out there and be available and show off his talent a little bit more in the upcoming season. And as I've said, one of the biggest things the Eagles have to do in the upcoming year, after so many touches and so many carries and so many receptions for Saquon Barkley and the incredible year that he's had, you're going to need to manage him at some point. And I'll go back to the number, 482 touches is a lot of touches for any running back. And counting on him to have that kind of workload again in back-to-back seasons, I think that's asking a lot. And it's not that I don't think he can do it. It's not that I think he's going to break down, God forbid, or anything like that happen throughout the season, but just maybe a little bit of a break. In order to do that, you want to see your passing game not be the least counted on passing game in the NFL. And I know even throughout last year, the Hurts haters love that. Oh, it's great to have a quarterback. When you ask him to do less. All right, whatever. That's all out the window now. But the Eagles are going to need a receiving tight end, not just a blocking tight end. They're going to need that tight end to also be a threat. When you're looking at this offense as well, some of the other things you have to ponder before you get to the main question that I touched on earlier. When you talk about moving on from Dallas Goedert, it's all about the money and freeing up that money. When we talk about moving on from Dallas Goedert, you're looking at, again, what is expendable. A.J. Brown, who I still don't think is going to the Patriots, DK Metcalf in that deal, him going to the Steelers. I was hoping that he would be the apple of the eye for Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots. Turns out not to be the case. Possible reunion there in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson. A.J. Brown's not going to the Patriots. Devontae Smith isn't going anywhere. Saquon Barkley, they just rewarded handsomely. He'll be around here. And Grant Calcaterra, I still think, is a good tight end. They'll still draft someone else, I'm sure of it. But when you talk about this offense and how stacked it is, they look at the tight end spot. They see 10 games, they see 11 games, they see 12 games, they see 14 games, and they go, not always available. Can't always count on him. When he's in there, you can count on him. But it's the games that he's missing that we're concerned about. Oh, yeah. And $11 million against the cap. Another thing. And the guaranteed money, by the way, with Dallas Goedert from his deal is all dried up at this point. So if it wasn't for those things, we wouldn't be talking about it. The other thing it comes down to, so the first thing is all about the money. Second is all about what's expendable in this offense that is stacked. And then the third thing is, would you trade Milton Williams? Or would you trade Dallas Goedert for Milton Williams? Would you trade Dallas Goedert to get Mekhi Becton? That's what it comes down to in Howie Roseman's mind. Even Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat still is who I think the Eagles are moving on from, no doubt. But for me, this is what the Eagles are talking about. And today it all comes up because today is the day where we get to use one of the dumbest phrases, if not the dumbest phrase in all of sports. Legal tampering, period. If it's legal tampering, it's just negotiating. But anyway, semantics. So when I look at this Eagles team and I look at what they could be doing with Dallas Goedert, I don't think they're kicking him out the door by any means. But if they can find that trade partner, he's gone. And when you look back, or you look at all the things that have been said over the weekend, you look back over the career of Dallas Goedert, what the Eagles have to do on their to-do list for the rest of this offseason, it makes sense. If the Eagles move Dallas Goedert, it's a good business decision. On the football field, I feel like it's also a good football decision because it's going to help you keep talent around your quarterback in terms of the offensive line. It's going to help you keep talent around your defensive line if that means holding on to Milton Williams and it means holding on to Mekhi Becton. One or the other, even. And I've told you guys before, if I have to choose between those two, Becton or Williams, I'm keeping Williams. And Williams, from those reports, I think it was Bleacher Report that put it out there talking about top dollar for Milton Williams. Yeah, it could happen. But I don't put anything past Howie Roseman when it comes to being able to slice and dice that cap. Hey, look, I don't even put it past Howie Roseman to keep everything. Goddard stays and Williams stays and Mekhi Becton gets a long-term deal as well. Fat chance of it happening, but I don't put anything past Howie. Haven't we learned our lessons by now? But I think the big business decision for Howie is finding someone that will take Dallas Goedert off their hands, keeping some of that money, and then being able to retain Becton or Williams. If it comes down to it for me, I'm all about Milton Williams and keeping that defensive line crazy stacked as much as possible. Looking at some other names on this list here from Adam Schefter. Josh Allen, that's just an insane deal. Most guaranteed money in the history of the NFL. I mentioned DK Metcalf going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only thing that bothers me about that is that he's not going to the Patriots, so the Patriots remain in the wide receiver market, which, although I don't think it's happening, it still leads to more conversation about the potential of A.J. Brown departing. I'm still not buying into it. Devontae Adams, I talked about going to the Rams. The Chiefs hold on to Nick Bolton. One name on here, Harold Landry. I saw some steam picking up there over the weekend about potentially coming here to the Philadelphia Eagles. He signs that 3-year deal, $43.5 million with the Patriots, so the Patriots get in on that one. And Aaron Jones stays with the Minnesota Vikings. So that's how you look at that. Sam Darnold set for free agency. So that's the way that it looks over the NFL. So we'll all be keeping our ears to the ground when it comes to what could be happening with Dallas Goedert. But for me, I think you have a pretty stacked offense as it is. The one play that I'll go back to with Dallas Goedert that will be on repeat in my brain, and it has to do a lot with, I talked a lot about mic'd up over the last month, both from the NFL Network Super Bowl mic'd up, and then most recently the Philadelphia Eagles mic'd up. But I think it was the Packers game where Dallas Goedert had that phenomenal stiff arm. Was it Valentine? I think it was. Going down the sidelines on that touchdown. They catch him. They catch him on the bench after the touchdown, being like, "I slowed down just so we could come get some." I thought that was awesome. And when it comes to overall talent, there's few tight ends in the NFL that I'd rather be on the Eagles than Dallas Goedert. But when it comes to being available, being there for the team, that's the most important thing. And I also referenced how great he is in the run game. Here's the numbers on the 7 games that Dallas Goedert missed. First game he missed was the game at the Meadowlands against the Giants. 176 yards. That was the game, of course, that Nick Sirianni went over to Saquon Barkley and be like, do you want to keep going? Or he just said, no, I'll let the young guys eat. 108 yards following week against the Bengals. 159 yards week after that against Jacksonville Jaguars. 124 yards against Carolina Panthers in that horrible passing game that the Eagles had in that one. Against Pittsburgh, 65 yards, but that was the game that Jalen Hurts was throwing the football extremely well. Then against Washington, and then the loss, 150 yards for Saquon Barkley. And then against the Dallas Cowboys, Saquon ran for 167 yards. All those games were without Dallas Goedert. So the run game, as one would assume, was just fine and dandy. And I'm one of the people that bangs the drum the loudest when it comes to Dallas Goedert. Oh, it's not just the passing game that's going to take a hit. It's the run game, too. Well, apparently not with this running back and not with this offensive line. But talent-wise, overall, would still love to see Dallas Goedert out there. It's just the availability, the money, unfortunately, and, if you will, redundancy and what's expendable for the Eagles. One thing more in the NFL. So after a breakup with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, it appears that the New York Giants are in conversations with Aaron Rodgers about keeping the quarterback in the Meadowlands. I love this. I love it. It'd be really nice for Jalen Carter, maybe Milton Williams if he sticks around. Be really nice to be able to go after Aaron Rodgers with this defensive line. I'm here for it. It'd be really nice for Quentin Mitchell to get his first regular season interception. Be great to see Quentin Mitchell get that off Aaron Rodgers. I personally think Aaron Rodgers is cooked. Like I think it's over. I think the guy is hanging on at this point. And the Giants, something tells me that their quarterback move in the offseason, let's see. Let's look at it to this point. They got had by Matt Stafford. They signed Tommy DeVito because we all need our quarterbacks to identify with the fan base and be able to do appearances at pizza shops. So we all need that. And now little rumblings of Aaron Rodgers potentially going to the Giants. Does this scare anybody? I know the one thought you might have is, Malik Neighbors from Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's certainly something. But Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell, I think they want that smoke. Jalen Carter being able to put Aaron Rodgers in his book. I think I want that smoke. When I saw, I was surprised. My first thought was, they'd have a quarterback. But I'm like, I think Aaron Rodgers is donezo, man. Donezo. Plus, it would be amazing to give two separate groups of a New York fan base complete heartbreak and disarray. They have all this hope to have Aaron Rodgers, and then he sucks. Oh my God, it'd be amazing. I bask in it. I absolutely bask in it, I tell you. Anybody else? Yeah, look forward to that. Nothing's happened yet. Again, we're only in the legal tampering period. Good times. Good times. I didn't even mention Philly spring training in my open. How dare I? Game was on TV yesterday. It was wonderful. Took the kids to the park. Got back home. Put on the game. Just a breath of fresh air. Ranger Suarez, 3 innings, 1 run yesterday. There's conversation about moving on from Ranger Suarez starting up through his interpreter yesterday, through the Phillies team interpreter yesterday. By the way, I like the Phillies team interpreter. He always does the inflection of the player. He doesn't just say the lines. He tries to encompass how they say it. Not that I know what they're saying in Spanish, but you can just tell it's delivered in the same manner. I appreciate that. But anyway, talking about Ranger Suarez potentially trading in what could be a stacked rotation. Here's how I feel about trading Ranger Suarez right now. So you're hoping Andrew Painter can pitch this year. The most optimistic I've heard is June. The most likely is July. The most worrisome is August. Once you start talking about August, you start talking about, well, do you just shut him down anyway? Because if you're going into August and you're still having problems, maybe the Phillies are out of it at that point. I don't think they will be. But, once you start talking about August, you start talking about, maybe why even have a pitch 2 months and just shut him down? It's for nothing. Why even have him do it? So you hope to have Andrew Painter. Then you got Christopher Sanchez. You got Taijuan Walker. You got Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, blah, blah. Here's my deal. I want as much pitching depth as humanly possible. humanly possible going into this seaon. Because last year you saw things really start to hit the fan with most notably Taijuan Walker. We talked about Spencer Turnbull last year, how great he was. Historic numbers for him, career numbers for him, but then eventually was replaced by Taijuan Walker. Christopher Sanchez had some bumps in the road. Ranger Suarez didn't have some bumps in the road. He had a really bumpy second half of the season. I know this is the guy I'm petitioning to keep, but you're going to need pitching depth. And not just for your rotation. You're going to need guys to come out of the bullpen throughout the year as well. I was listening to our friend Ben Verlander over the weekend, and he was talking about his teams that he's picking to win the NL East. And wouldn't you know it, he's got the Philadelphia Phillies winning the NL East. And the number one reason he has the Philadelphia Phillies winning the NL East, it's not because of Bryce Harper. It's not because of Kyle Schwarber. It's not because of Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, and any of those guys. Alec Boehm. It's not because of those guys. It's about the starting rotation. Got him over the Mets, got him over the Braves, obviously. Nationals, nothing. But the Phillies is who he's picked. He picked the Phillies last year. They won the NL East. Can they do it again? Back-to-back NL East champions. I'll tell you, one thing, and I've said this before, but when it comes to the Phillies, this is what I've learned. The Phillies, for me, last year, wait, hold on. All right, I'll finish the thought. Phillies, for me, last year just proved that if you have a phenomenal first 2.5 months of the season, it doesn't mean anything if you hit a wall in the second half of the year. And that's exactly what happened. We got some news here from Adam Schefter. Just talked about this, but how about not the New York Giants? According to Adam Schefter, Steelers continuing to talk to Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, but Aaron Rodgers has emerged as a quarterback option in Pittsburgh per league sources. Rodgers and the Steelers are expected to talk and explore. That can't be right. Rodgers and the Steelers are expected to talk and explore a reunion. The idea of Rodgers playing for Mike Tomlin is in play. Does he mean Wilson and the Steelers? Well, when did Aaron Rodgers? That doesn't make any sense, right? I'm not crazy. Steelers are expected to talk and explore a reunion. This has made my... okay. All right, here we go. Okay, hold on. I was waiting for the... No, he's still talking. Shefty, what are you doing to me, man? Rodgers and the Steelers are expected to talk and explore a reunion. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, he changed it from reunion... Shefty changed it to this is okay. Editing tweets now. Rodgers and the Steelers are expected to talk and explore a union. The idea of Rodgers playing for Mike Tomlin is in play. Okay, that makes okay. Now my brain's not fried. All right. So the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are now kicking the tires during the legal tampering period. So I just talked about Aaron Rodgers potentially going to the Giants. Well, now the Steelers are in play too. It looks like Rodgers is going to have options. Looks like Rodgers is going to have options there. So there you go. Phillies. By my count, they were, in the final 3 months of the season, 2 games over 500. That is no bueno. You reverse that, and you got a hot team going into the playoffs, and everybody feels good about that. The scariest thing for me, looking at this Phillies season, and I don't count injuries because everyone has, I don't want to put that into existence about anybody, but the thing that scares me is watching this team, offensively speaking, just crash and burn as the season ends. And Nick Castellanos last year gave me so much hope when it seemed like the first month of the season, his chase rate was great. Wasn't chasing those lone outside sliders, was letting pitchers throw that to him, thinking he's going to flail away at it, and he laid off it. Then it felt like for 2 months he went back to his old habits and then got back on track. And then back to his old habit, and back on. Streaky is obviously the word that comes to mind. But I have that concern. I have a concern about Kyle Schwarber if he is batting cleanup. That's a ton of strikeouts to have at the 4 spot. If you have Trey Turner, I think it was Rob Thompson on WIP last week that said, if Trey Turner's leading off, Bryce Harper's going to be batting second. And then Kyle Schwarber bats third. Kyle Schwarber bats fourth. Sounded like they were paving the way for Kyle Schwarber to bat cleanup. Look, I'm not the biggest advocate of Kyle Schwarber leading off, but he leads off. The Phillies win a lot of baseball games. Maybe it's time to make that change. When Trey Turner came to Philadelphia, ultimately I wanted him to bat first. I wanted Kyle Schwarber to bat second and have Bryce Harper bat behind him. So you got to give Kyle Schwarber pitches to see. Otherwise, you're going to go see Bryce Harper. Hopefully, you already got a guy on base in Trey Turner to be able to knock him in. But my biggest concern is that, again, that doesn't work. You got to go back to Schwarber back at the leadoff spot, and then it feels like you don't have a lot of pop in the middle of that lineup because Castellanos, I don't have confidence, can hit over 25, 30 home runs this year. JT Realmuto, to me, one of the biggest differences of this Phillies season, other than what they could be doing at the top of the order, it has to be JT Realmuto getting days off. That's what I think you put Garrett Stubbs on a little bit of hot water, unfortunately, with his backup catcher responsibilities. So you got to limit the amount of games he plays so that you're ready for the playoffs. And JT Realmuto doesn't go 0 for 22 in the divisional round of the postseason. Can't have that. So when I look at this Phillies lineup, I have my concerns about what the lineup does at the end of the year. Are you going to see them swinging ice cold baseball bats, similar to how you did last year and in the playoffs? Unfortunately, that's the concern I have going forward. Is Sean Manaea going to scare the hell out of you again? Kodai Senga going to fork ball the hell out of you again with the ghost pitch? Those are my concerns with this Phillies team. Good day yesterday, though. The bad day to talk about how you have concerns about the Phillies lineup when they scored about 14 runs in yesterday's spring training game. Not a bad day. Not a bad day. I mentioned the 10-9-8 76ers. They beat the Utah Jazz last night. And they play again tonight. Adembona, career highs across the board. 14 points, 14 rebounds. Split those 14 rebounds, by the way. 7 offensive boards, 7 defensive boards. 5 blocks. My man was getting, my second-round rookie was getting a little cocky after block number 3. Barely fingertip blocked a shot. And you could hear him say, get that ish out of here. But all in all, they played extremely well. They were down 16 points early to the Jazz. And they thought everything was going great. Like, you know that gif of Jack Nicholson on social media where he's just like, yes, yes. Yeah, that's how I felt when the Sixers were down 16 points. Like, lose, out terrible, this terrible basketball team, please. And then Lonnie Walker turned into Michael Jordan. Quentin Grimes turned into Tyrese Maxey, I don't know. And Adembona turned into Shaq. Just what you needed. 78 bench points, by the way, for the Sixers. Second most in franchise history. But all that matters is that they won, and now they're outside the bottom 6 records in the NBA. The good news is they got the Raptors for 2 games. Raptors are slightly ahead of them. So hopefully they lose those games. And by the way, the Utah Jazz, for a terrible basketball team, rested everybody. And they still, well, Sixers didn't have any. 126 points without Maxey, Paul George, and Embiid is pretty damn good. But yeah, 78 points. Second most in franchise history. From your bench. The bench didn't get the memo. But yeah, they're done. Watch them not get a top 6 pick. Watch them not get a top 6 pick. That'll be absolutely horrifying. And the Flyers sold. Scott Lawton, most notably. They get another first round pick with 6 firsts in the next 3 years. It's not a bad run there for the Flyers. Good job there, Danny Briere. Hey, let me tell you about the amazing people, the incredible people at the Game Time app. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Download the Game Time app. Take full advantage. Use promo code Farzy and save yourself $20. And don't forget to use the Game Time Picks feature. You know what that does? That filters out all the fluff so you get right down to it. The best seats at the best possible prices on the Game Time app. So if you want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show, download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check on this Monday morning. Again, I hope everyone's doing fine on the time change. Sean Gillespie, hello. What's going on? Wine Niners Wine, good morning. April, good morning, April. Sean Kilrain, hello. William Stark, what's going on? Good morning, Farzy and company. Thought Flyers might get a tie or a win when Stunad Sandheim was cross-checking for that penalty. The 1:30 left. William, God bless you. Don't trade Dallas to Dallas no matter what. Oh, that's another thing. So, in relation, Sean Gillespie, on this note, let me pull this back here. Myles Garrett is the number one. Nick Bolton, not so much. Yeah. But Myles Garrett really helps the Eagles signing that huge Kajunga deal. Because Micah Parsons is going to be due for a contract with the Dallas Cowboys. And they're going to have to pay that money. Oh, this is fun. This is a good time. And you know what's really good about that is they freed up a lot of cap space just to waste it. Oh, it's fun having Howie as your GM now. Didn't used to be fun. Howie Roseman 2.0 has been baller. Absolute baller. But yeah, don't trade Dallas. I don't want to see that. Can we trade Dallas right now? Well, we can't trade Dallas right now. It makes no sense. Alfredo, it makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. We need a true replacement for Dallas, says Alfredo. Alfredo says a pass catcher and blocker. I agree. But here's why it makes sense, to go back to your previous point, Alfredo. Financially, it makes sense. Talent-wise, yes, I think you are having a drop-off from Dallas Goedert to Grant Calcaterra. You're not having, and then you could, again, be drafting Gunnar Helm, for instance, out of Texas. You don't have what we've been used to in Philadelphia with a great handoff, one guy to the next guy. I like Grant. I got to find Grant Calcaterra's full numbers from last year to give you a better picture. To me, it doesn't really come down to the numbers as much because, again, it was such a such a run-heavy offense. But Grant Calcaterra had a couple of good catches. Nothing that makes you go, he had one great catch. Was that from Kenny Pickett? But, like, putting numbers together. All right, so the Cincinnati game, 3 catches, 58 yards. Let's see here. Well, how old is Grant now? He's 26 years old. So in total, he had 298 yards. Uh, 34-yard catch is the one I'm thinking about for him. But Grant Calcaterra, 6'4", certainly not the proven track record that you've seen just yet. Like I mentioned before, Brent Selleck to Zach Ertz to Dallas Goedert. Like we've seen kind of the proof in the pudding where we didn't need to just kind of trust. We saw that they could play. Grant Calcaterra, I think, could play, but we don't know that he could play at the level. Like, he had a pretty good idea that Zach Ertz could play at the level of a Brent Selleck. You had a pretty good idea that Dallas Goedert could play at the level of a Zach Ertz, if not take it to the next step. You know, each guy going on. Brent Selleck to Zach Ertz to Dallas Goedert, kind of getting better and better at those positions. You don't have that same kind of resume right now with Grant Calcaterra, which leads me to believe that Grant Calcaterra is not going to be the only replacement for Dallas Goedert. It would be also through the draft. I think he had that circus catch. One-handed, I think it was. Was that against the Cowboys? In the 41-7 game? Second to last game? I think that's the one I'm thinking of for Grant Calcaterra. The most catches he ever had in a game was 4. That was against Cleveland Browns, and the Eagles came back from the bye week. He went in for Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert only got 1 target in that game. Handful of snaps. And 67 yards. Yeah, that was that's his season high. Most likely his career high as well. But yeah, it would be a different transition than what we're used to seeing from the Eagles tight end spots. Sean Kilray, hello. Farzi, hope you and Seth can do an old school show with us talking about Buddy Ryan. I know, I'd love to. Seth is, I think, in full-blown vacation mode. I don't know. I'll have to check. Elaine, what's going on? Good morning. Sean Kilray, there are league sources who believe that the Eagles are holding out hope for, that's the Josina Anderson report, yes. Ooh, Jonathan Allen coming here, Sean. All right. Free agency, legal tamper. Would you try to get Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals as far as he led the league in sacks? Yes, I would. I absolutely would. But here's the deal. The Dallas Goedert trade, I think, is going to dictate, well, obviously, I think it's going to dictate how aggressive the Eagles are going to be in free agency. They have a lot of in-house guys that, for instance, you could talk about Keely Ringo, you could talk about Isaiah Rodgers, excuse me. You could talk about, I mean, I'm not for it, the Cooper DeJean that he outside. I think Jeff Kerr, when he was on with us last week, Cooper DeJean in a base defense, move him out to the outside. In a nickel, you move him back to nickel. All right, maybe that's a happy compromise, but I'd still say rather one position. Also, the other argument is you keep him on the field more. I think what the Eagles are going to be doing in free agency and how aggressive they're going to be is going to hinge on whether or not they can move Dallas Goedert. And if it's out there that they want a 4th-round pick, then another team's thinking, maybe they'll take a 5th-round pick. And the term holding out hope, to go back to it for those that haven't seen it, again, the term holding out hope, that's a little scary. Does that not reek of desperation to some people? We really wanted a 3rd-round pick, but if we get a 4th-round pick, that means you're going to get a 5th-round pick. That's an interesting thing because so rarely do we hear anything from Howie that is vulnerable. You know, we have this image of Howie Roseman calling other GMs and GMs looking at their phones and going, "Oh, damn it." Like, how are you going to fleece me? You know what I mean? At least that's the way I hope it goes. Sean Gillespie. Sixers showing spirit. That's what they need no matter what. All right. We need to keep Dallas. Jalen and Dallas work well together like AJ and Smitty. Sign him, Howie. To go back to it, here's the question I'll ask again. I haven't seen anybody answer this, and I think I threw it out. Milton Williams. Okay, this is the first person I'm seeing address it. Milton Williams isn't worth the contract. I don't think he's going to get top dollar. I know he's holding. I mean, you're talking about holding on hope. I don't think he's going to get top dollar. Paul Mancini, what's going on? Goddard does not and won't play on his final year of his current contract, just like Dak, Metcalf, Debo. many other high-level players when they have that's So it's not So it's not just about keeping him for this year. It's about whether or not he's going to hold. I'm talking to hold out, literally holding out because he wants the contract extension. I agree. Milton Williams not worth top dollar. I agree with that. Michael, I think Milton Williams is a good player. But yeah, okay. But essentially, if moving on from Dallas Goedert and not signing him to a long-term deal means keeping Milton Williams, would you make that trade or would you keep Dallas? Because on this offense, look, to me right now, what is weaker? I think one of the most dominant players on your football team, period, is Jalen Carter. I had a concern going into this year that you were light at the defensive line positions. Nolan Smith showed you a lot after the bye week. He showed you even more. Nolan Smith had 2 huge ramp-ups this year. One was right after the bye, where he became one of the best win rate percentage guys in the NFL. And then the next step up after that was when BG went down against the Rams. Nolan Smith just exceeded my expectations wildly going into this season. So that's good. Then Jordan Davis, still, you got to see his snap count go up. And if it can't just be Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith's an edge, So who's the next man that's going to be up there? Moro Jomo? Thomas Booker? Who's next up? Holy Stromboli. Paul Mancini says Williams will get a 4-year, $88 to $92 million deal, 55 guaranteed. Damn, son. All right. I think he wants you as his agent. Oh. Andrew Jackson, more than likely he wants an extension. Didn't realize you played in the league and weren't. Huh? Okay. I agree. He's going to want an extension. Bobby Murphy, Rodgers is washed. Thank you. Thank you, Skirkle. Appreciate Oh, I'm sorry. Skirkle, good morning. Bobby Murphy, Rodgers is washed. Aaron Rodgers with the Giants offensive line would be incredible. Every team that plays them. Oh, that would be great. Oh, Paul Mancini. Rodgers ends up with the Titans or Giants. Darnold ends up with Seattle. Raiders are the dark horse team, the Colts. Okay. Hollywood Hogan. Eagles fans act like teams spending this money doesn't affect the players' contracts. Very short-sighted. I think some people are, and then other people, I think, understand the other aspect of it. I think the other aspect in this regard is easy. For me, at least. I mean, the Saquon deal might seem odd to extend a running back, but you're saving money. I saw the deal we look at the deal for Saquon, and it's like, you're going to save money now, and then probably he's never going to see money on the back end of it. He gets an increase of guaranteed money and an extension technically, but all it really, the main motivation there wasn't, I'm sure, yes, reward him for an incredible year and setting him the last game, whatever, but they won a Super Bowl. And he was a big reason for that. They rewarded him, and they freed up more money this year in order to try to bring back some of their other guys. Hollywood Hogan, what's going on? Going rate for a guard is $20 million. Oh, Paul, what's with this? Painter will not pitch in 2025. We are a third-place team, possibly a wild card's on our way. Stott, Real Muto, Marsh, Rojas cannot hit. Stott, no, I don't want to say that he blamed his elbow, but said that he just had elbow pain and discomfort for the last 3 months of the year, I think he said, which kind of coincides with his nosedive in numbers. Hollywood Hogan, Goddard watching all these other deals. Everybody else get paid. If he's smart, he'd sit out until a new deal. Brian Pupper, Phillies are the Ravens of the MLB. Crazy high expectations by the media. Crazy high choke every year. The Phillies have at least been to a Super Bowl been to a World Series with this group. I don't think I put them in the same class. I will say, and I said this when Nick Castellanos made the comments when everybody reported saying that they don't have pressure on him. I want him to feel that way. Like, I don't want anyone in that clubhouse to feel pressure. I want them to feel urgency. And I disagree. It's like I want everyone in that clubhouse to not feel pressure, but feel the urgency. And I want everyone in the fan base to understand that this Phillies team has very much underwhelmed. And look, I want Nick Castellanos in that clubhouse to have to be in that headspace of, oh, we're under the radar. So they're not gripping the bat too tight, blah, 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 whatever cliche you want to throw at it. Basically, that amounts to they don't have pressure on them. In my opinion, they do. Like, I've never disagreed with an athlete, but wanted him to have that mentality. Like, the Phillies are absolutely under pressure. The Phillies, I mean, a better comparison, you don't have to leave the city of Philadelphia for a better comparison to the Phillies. The best comparison to the Phillies is the 76ers. And they haven't even made it out of the second round of the playoffs in 20-some years. 24 now. But talk about expectation. Talk about buying in. Talk about disappointment. Talk about great regular seasons and then puttering out in the playoffs. That, to me, is a better comparison. Don't even have to leave the city. Fuji! What's going on, Fuji? Hollywood Hogan, what's going on? Eagles doing Goddard dirty. He's sitting there. Where my money? I'm thinking it's Russ and DK reunion, right? Farzi X has malfunctioned. Now Rodgers with the Steelers. Interesting, right? Mr. Salmon, good morning. Cleveland gave Myles Garrett a huge paycheck, told him to imagine an alternate universe where the Browns were in the Super Bowl. Oh, that's wonderful. Ooh, Darkwing Ducky. Hello. Goddard should be packaged in the draft. Interesting. Loveland. Yeah, I've seen Loveland go from 15 to 25. Tight end, Michigan. Colston, that's right. Colston Loveland. Nobody wants trash backloaded Goddard contract. Goddard is a good blocker. Grant Calcaterra, good backup, but not a starter. Like I said, I think he'll be part of the replacement if that's the way it goes down. Ooh, Howie's desperate. Spent all that money. Sean Keller, move on from Dallas. He got the ring. It's his availability and durability is a question for me. Like you said, okay, you agree. Thank you, Sean. Oh, Gorby. Hi, Farzi, your biggest Irish fan. Hi, Gorby. What's going on? Wine Niners Wine. Thank you for that information. Travis, what's going on? Sign Becton. All is great. All right. Keeping Milton Williams not even an option for Howie. He's not paying him $22 million. All right. Latu is good backup, says Joe Matty. Going to surprise people. All right. Handsome Hustler 88. I'm so glad Myles Garrett got signed. Was getting really annoyed and tired of the Eagles, of these Eagles signing Garrett rumors for every 5 seconds. Oh, every 5 seconds I'm coming out. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think it was happening. I knew the Eagles were going to kick the tires, but that was about it. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Your Philadelphia 76ers, if you choose to put yourself through it, are playing tonight. They got a second leg of a back-to-back. This one's in Atlanta against the Hawks at 7:30. And then after that, they travel Wednesday night to Toronto to take on the Raptors. That's the way that one goes down. Your Philadelphia Flyers now lost 4 in a row after an explosion of goals. Was it 15 in 3 games? Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing the way they were doing it. After that, and they even lost that. That's right. They lost the game to the Penguins. They had 4 goals. They lost 4 in a row, scoring 3 goals in their last 3 games. Not great. They're back at it tomorrow night against the Senators. Claude Giroux back in South Philly. Tomorrow night. That game at 7 o'clock. Wings took a tough loss to the Albany Firewolves Saturday night. Great atmosphere for emo nights at the Wells Fargo Center. That was a lot of fun. Early November performed, for those that know. And it was a lot of fun. They lost, unfortunately, 12-10. Made a game of it late. They were in it to the end. Let's go Wings. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. I'll be back with you guys on Locked On Sports Philadelphia tonight following Sixers and Hawks after that 7:30 tip-off tonight. Thanks, everybody. Be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia, then tomorrow morning for the Farzy Show. See you guys then. Have a great rest of your day.